Hello, children. How are you? Hope you are enjoying your summer break. Of course, this is a critical time on the entire world due to coronavirus. Everyone is compelled to stay at home. But as you must have passed 11th class and you have entered class 12th, you must make use of this leisure time. So, dear children, I have planned to provide you the notes of economic development first, chapter wise, NCRT book, through the question and in the form of question answer. So, first of all, let us start chapter number 1, the Indian economic on the eve of independence. We will be taking it as notes also and as in the form of the question answers also. First of all, we will see that this chapter is Indian economy at the time of independence. Dear children, as you know, the state of agriculture at that time of Indian independence was very critical. India is an agricultural country. Its main source of livelihood is agriculture. At that time, when India got independence, at that time 85% of the people engaged in agriculture and other related occupations. Now we will see the main features of Indian agriculture at the eve of independence. First of all, first point is that the agriculture was the main source of livelihood. As I told you just now, 85% of the people, total population, depended on agriculture. Now we talk about the working population. 72.7% of the entire working population had to depend on agriculture because there was reason for that. The land was, at the time, the land was more as compared to the population. Understand it. The land was more as compared to the agriculture, the population. So most of the population that had to depend on agriculture. At that time, the people they mainly were using the producing the food crops because they were producing the food crops, the food grains, etc. only. They used to produce for the self consumption. There was no organized market. The British government did not do anything to arrange the organized market for the agricultural products in those markets where the farmers could go and sell their products. Of course, the farmers also used to produce only the food grains. That was only for the self consumption. In some areas where the farmers were compelled by the British government to produce the cash crops, the cash crops were also produced. Next thing is that there was a labor intensive technique that was used in agricultural field because the British government did not take any step to modernize the agriculture sector. The farmers had to depend on the outdated technology, labor intensive technology for the production of the food crops. The result was low productivity. Though 85% of the population and 72.7% of the total working population depended on agriculture, the productivity per hectare was very low at that time. As we can see that production of wheat was 660 kilograms per hectare in 1947 as compared to 3093 kilograms per hectare in 2015 and 16. The production of rice was also very low. The production of rice was 665 kilograms per hectare in 1947 as compared to 2404 kilograms per hectare in 2015 and 16. Next feature of Indian economy, Indian agricultural economy at that time was high vulnerability. The India, you know that India is an agriculture country. Agriculture depends on weather, and weather in India is totally uncertain. If there is good rain, there is good output. If there is poor rain, there is poor output. So, in many cases, when there is more than required rain, the entire crop was destroyed. And when there was less rain, the economy had to face the conditions of the droughts. The British government did not take any step to improve the agricultural condition by improving the irrigation facilities in India. Next feature is that feudalism in the agriculture. There were two groups in agriculture sector. One was the landowners and another was the tillers. There was the landowners, they did not have any concern to improve the condition of the tillers. The condition of the tillers were very miserable. They were compelled to work in their fields without giving them the proper condition, proper help, or improving their condition. The entire family had to work on the fields. And the jamindars, they had only one aim to collect the rent, lagan, you know. That was too high. So these were the features of Indian agriculture at that time. Now we see that what are the policies, what was the focus on the of the economic policies pursued by the colonial government in India, and what was the impact. As I told you in the previous question, the Indian had to remain under the rule of British government for more than 2 centuries. The sole purpose of Indian government was only to reduce the Indian economy as a merely as a supplier of the raw material which was to be used in the industries in Britain. They wanted to they wanted the farmers of India to produce only the raw material, that was raw silk, then raw cotton, raw jute, and indigo, etc. The second thing was the British government needed a market for the finished goods which were produced in Britain. So there were twofold motives of the British government only: to reduce India to the supplier of the raw material and to find the market for their finished goods which were produced in British. Before British rule, the India had a worldwide market, very famous market for many goods, especially for the handicraft industry. The handicraft industry was famous all around the world for their fine work. Along with the handicraft industry, cotton, silk, textile, metal, precious stones, they also enjoyed the worldwide fame in the entire world for their fine quality. But after the commercialization of the agriculture, these industries, especially the handicraft industry, ruined at large. Along with this, India had to pay the cost also. India had to pay the cost of running their British administration, British army. They used to pay the rent, salaries to the British personals, and to meet the expenditures on the wars, which was the wars which were fought and in entire world, other countries by the British government. All these expenditure had to be borne by the Indian government, Indian people, Indian civilization, Indian country. Now, this caused a huge drainage of Indian wealth from India to the Britain. Now we see the condition of agriculture. What were the main causes of agriculture? Stagnation in India. Stagnation, you know? Stagnation means the condition when there is no improvement, condition when there is no development. The main causes of agriculture stagnation during the time of the British rule was various systems of the land settlements, like the Malwari system, like the Jamindari system, etc. Jamindari system was the main. India, the British government had appointed Jamindars, who were the land owners, and they were given some titles, they were given some facilities, and the main responsibility of these zamindars was to collect the land revenue from the tillers. Whatever the profit of the agriculture sector was there, that went to the zamindars instead of the cultivators, instead of the original main tillers. The colonial government and zamindars did nothing for the improvement in the agriculture sector. The main interest of the zamindars was only to collect the land revenue without considering any economic condition of the cultivators. The land revenue was fixed, the dates of collection was fixed by the British government. The Jamindars had to collect the land revenue, rent from the tillers at the fixed dates, failing in which they had to lose their rights and they were punished for it. They had to lose their titles, etc. Along with it, there was low technology of production. As I told you just now, the Indian agriculture that depended on the labor-intensive technique, lack of irrigation facilities, negligible use of fertilizer, all these things caused the stagnation of the agriculture during the British rule. So this was very critical condition at that time. Now we see that the some other questions that were twofold motive of behind the economic system of the British pre-independent pre-independent India. Traditional handicraft industries were ruined under the British rule. Some reasons are there. So first of all, I tell you, the just like agriculture, the industrial sector also faced the condition of the ruin, standstill position. There was the British government did not do anything to develop the industrial sector also, leaving some of them which were of their use only. The primary motive of the colonial government behind the policy of deindustrialization Indian economy was number one, to reduce India to the status of mere export of important raw material like raw cotton, jute, etc. To the British industries. And second is to turn the Indian economy into the growing market for the finished goods of the Britain. These were the twofold motives behind the systematic deindustrialization effected by the British in the pre-independent India. The British rule country, the world famous handicraft industry, as I told you, that declined. Handicraft industry was famous all over the world. The traditional handicrafts declined due to the introduction of the British machine made goods. Handicraft industry means the products which were made by the hand, and When the British government supplied the machine made goods which were made in British industries, it caused a huge loss to the handicraft industry. Indian handicraft industry by the British government, it created massive unemployment. During the second half of the 19th century, modern industries started growing, but the progress was very less. Some industries started growing, like the cotton industry. Cotton textile industry was mostly that was located in Maharashtra, Gujarat, and another was the jute industry, which was located in West Bengal. One more industry like Tata Iron and Steel Industry, which is popularly known as TISCO, it was started in 1907. So some other industries, cement, sugar, paper industry, that also started growing after the Second World War. But the progress was very slow. The progress was very slow. The contribution of the new industrial sector to GDP remained very slow. New industrial sector that was limited to the area of the public sector only, that was railways, power generation, communication, ports, and some other developmental undertakings. So we see during the British reign, Indian agriculture sector, Indian industrial sector, both faced the stage of stagnation. So, hi guys, I hope you must have understood all these 2 points. Rest of the chapter I'll take in the next video. Hope you will be taking the benefit and you will be enjoying these notes. I'll try to supply you the next topics of this chapter and further chapters in my next videos. Okay, bye.